You are listening to episode number 67 with Bernadette Gold.
If you're someone who wants to make major changes in their life, someone who wants to achieve their goals, or maybe you're someone who knows this is not as good as it gets, but you have no idea where to start, on the Reinvent You podcast, we explore different types of people, their successes and failures, and how they reinvented themselves to create the life they love. It's our hope that from hearing their stories, that you too may have more insight into what it takes to build a life that you envision for yourself. Here to help you do that is performance and life coach Travia Stewart.
You guys, I just had one of the most powerful conversations I've ever had on this podcast. And I've had some really, really good conversations with people. And so I want to introduce you to Bernadette Gold, who is a success and mindset coach. She is a wealth activator. She's an author. She's a clairvoyant spiritual teacher, and she's a master healer. And she is a facilitator of rapid breakthroughs in consciousness that lead to quantum income leaps. Her mission is to transform the lives of savvy, successful, high-achieving, high performers, transformational leaders, change agents, entrepreneurs, executives, CEOs. She does this by imprinting and activating a new energetic paradigm that leads to an elevated higher income, increased impact, and fulfillment in their lives. Bernadette has helped thousands of clients worldwide since the year 2000, and she's been a successful entrepreneur since 1998. She's never ever settled for the ordinary. I know a lot of us do that, but she never has. She demands excellence in her work, her life, and has created an extraordinary life for herself and for her clients. So as we dive into the episode, you might want to get some pen and paper. You want to really, really be present for this episode, because the things that Bernadette shares with clearing your blocks and imprinting energy, I feel like could help every person on this podcast who's listening, wherever you are. So, Bernadette Gold, welcome to the Reinvent You podcast. I know people are going to be like, you say that a lot, but I really, really mean it today. I'm so stoked for this conversation because meeting someone else that I consider high performance, I feel like you've mastered a lot of things. You've mastered not settling for the ordinary. How about that?
Absolutely.
So, Bernadette, welcome to the Reinvent You podcast. I'm excited for this conversation.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited too.
Absolutely. So, tell you what, to give my listeners some context as to who Bernadette is, can you give us a quick Cliff Notes version of your journey to actually becoming that badass that I read about you as today?
Wow. It's been a lifelong journey. And I'll just preface it by saying I don't know anyone who's a badass who hasn't been through hell,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
Life just has a way of molding us and we get to choose. And I chose to be better than the trauma, better than any kind of obstacle, better than any
Mhm.
challenge. I rose to the occasion and just chose. Like, this
Yeah.
isn't going to kill me. I'm going to rise
Yeah.
up. And it's worked out for me. Thank God.
Wow. And you say it so simply. And I know as coaches, we think, you can choose. But many people don't realize
Yeah.
that it's that simple. How were you able to make it so simple that you could just choose to not be a victim?
I had something in me. Obviously, I think it says in your show notes, like I'm a clairvoyant, you know?
Yes.
And so I had a whole team on the other side helping me along that nobody else could see. And while it created its own challenges, it also gave me the feeling that I was never alone. Right.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
was able to kind of keep going. Although there were times when I was like, you're letting me down. Like, what is this showing up now? And my
Right.
daughter was molested when she was 3, which
Oh
put
God,
me in a
so
spin.
sorry. Yeah.
Well, she's 29 now, so we got through it. But, I'm not going to lie. There was a moment that I wanted to kill him first
Of
and that
course.
wasn't going to work. Then I wanted to kill myself because I couldn't face it. And I had so much guilt and shame. And then I was like, well, she only got one parent left.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm going to have to rise to the occasion. And I did.
Wow. So that is incredible. Oh my goodness. So as a clairvoyant, when did you realize you had that gift? Like at what age?
The first memory I have of it is around 4 years old, because that's about as far back as I can remember.
Right. And then, oh my goodness, what did that look like as a 4-year-old? I mean, like when I think of clairvoyant, I mean, I'm not clairvoyant. So I go, ooh, she can see into the future. And if someone says something, she knows if they're lying or not.
So I'm what they call multi-gifted. Like I'm a
Mhm.
clairvoyant, a clairaudient, meaning I can see and sense, I can hear, and yes, I'm claircognizant. I know things without knowing how I know things, right? And I'm a medium, so I can see spirits on the other side, spirits who've crossed over. I can see, you know, yeah, guides, stuff like that. So I got in
Wow.
trouble for it. A lot of
Really?
trouble.
Okay.
Yes, my mother was very, very afraid of my gifts because and I didn't find out this until I was in my 30s. My dad's mom was a psychic. She was a healer in Hawaii. Well, she warned my dad not to marry my mom. So, of course, my mom didn't like her and she was terrified of all those things. And I guess I was saying things I shouldn't have been saying. And so she brought the priest when I
Yeah.
was 5, and she's, they were trying to do some weird like exorcism thing or something while I was
Hmm.
watching cartoons. And my guides were like, just watch the TV, just watch the
Just
TV. Don't
watch.
say, and I just sat there. And from then on, I started to bury it. I realized that not everybody could see what I was seeing. Not
Hmm.
everybody could hear it. And that you can get in a lot of trouble if you keep it up.
Yeah.
So
Oh my goodness. Like this is so like I'm just so intrigued by this whole topic. And so oh goodness, I got 80 more questions for you, Bernadette. Just so the fact that you are a clairvoyant, does that help you increase your level of certainty because you can see the future and how the thing is going to work out if you do that action?
I wish that I could say yes, but honestly, it works better when I'm using it for other people than it does for
Mhm.
me if I'm emotionally attached to something.
Okay.
So, if I'm emotionally attached to something, or if I have a lesson I have to learn with someone, it's like the blinders go on and I don't know anything. I'm just a
Right.
mere mortal, right? Like
Okay.
everyone else. And people ask me that, like, couldn't you see that relationship was going to fall apart? No, that would take the joy right out of life. My gifts work
Right.
really well when I'm in danger. It's saved my life many a times.
Mhm.
My gifts work really well when I'm not in an emotional place at all. If, how
Right.
we want something, you meet someone and your hormones kick in, and no amount of intuition or gifts are going to override that. You're like, I got
Yeah.
to have
Yeah.
that. That's the worst thing for me, but I have to have that. Yeah, it
Right.
doesn't work for that. So I wish I could say it did, but it doesn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So, oh my goodness. So I'm just so intrigued by this. I am a person who believes that everything happens for a reason. And so my mother, today is my mother's birthday.
Oh, happy
And
birthday.
well, and she's in heaven. And there was
Ish.
something, okay, 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 okay.
She's like, no, I'm not. I'm right here. You just can't see me. Yeah. She was a tough one too, eh? Tough, like tough lady. Yeah.
Yes.
She's coming through and she's like, I'm right here. Not in heaven. She's not somewhere out in the clouds. She's literally right there, right behind you.
What is she doing?
She's
Like,
tapping her foot and laughing. She's funny though. Like she was a tough lady. Her energy comes through as just, you do not mess with that woman.
it's
Do
so
not
true.
mess with her.
It's so true. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And she loves you.
Really?
She does. Yeah. I get I so all transparency, she does this thing, like she's showing me, I have great love and respect for you. That didn't always translate. Like there's a shame. There's like a drop the head. It didn't always translate when I was alive. But here's the thing: when people cross over,
Yeah.
they remember who they are. They get the life review and get to see where they didn't live up to their own divinity,
Mm-hmm.
where they didn't express unconditional love. They're always much nicer when they're on the other side. Literally, I prefer dead people over living because they're awake, they're aware.
Yeah.
So there is this like almost an apology, like, and she wanted me to see she was a tough lady, meaning tough to please, right? Tough to live
Yeah.
up to the expectations. And I think one of the reasons she's bringing that through is so she wasn't easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things, oh my goodness, this is such a different direction here. One of the things, and I appreciate you saying that so much. Thank you for that, because one of the things I always wanted to know is if she was proud of me. And so by you saying that, it just gives me so much more peace.
She's around you a lot. She
Um,
she peeks in on you a lot. Yeah. So happy birthday, Mom.
Happy birthday, Mom.
But she is saying she did pass that "don't mess with me" thing on to you.
She did.
So,
She
well, it
did.
was hard to live with.
She
She's like, but I
did.
gave it to you. Like,
Yes, she did. Wow. Perfect. So how does this gift, because it's an amazing gift that you have, how do you use this gift to work with your clients in the work that you do today?
so because I've been through so much, I studied theology, I studied theosophy, I studied philosophy, I studied psychology.
Mhm.
I have studied energy work and obviously all the spiritual stuff that I could get my hands on.
Yeah.
But I grew up, I'm 54. So I grew up in the days where being a psychic wasn't exactly embraced. It's only been the last maybe decade, two
Mhm.
decades, 20 years. I've been in this job now professionally as a psychic and a coach for over 21 years. But prior to that, it was tough. But because I've been through things like the molest of my child, my
Mhm.
own traumas, being abused and being in codependent relationships with abusers and narcissists and everyone under the sun, I'm able to really tune into people's trauma, the
Right.
deepest parts that's hidden even sometimes from them. And without a lot of conversation, I'm not your normal coach or spiritual counselor,
Mhm.
right? Like you come and see me and you've been to therapy for 10 or 20 years. And this is the story of a lot of my clients. And we sit down and immediately I can start to tell you where you're blocked. And now bring it back up and now we can walk through it. But the adult you walks through it, not the
Yeah.
helpless victim child. And then we can put it back together. So it's just fast. It's like, I don't know, counseling on steroids.
Wow. And as a coach myself, and I deal a lot with subconscious reprogramming and going back in that time, little timeline therapy. But I
Mm-hmm.
know that you have ways that you, like you're saying, you can do it much faster, like
Yeah.
almost instantly because of these gifts. So what would you say are the top three things that help you release those blocks that people have, that or actually that create the blocks first for them, and how do you help them release it?
So being able to really like be present for someone and
Yeah.
see them is and validate that you went through this,
Yeah. Yeah.
like see them. So many people have gone through trauma, nobody's acknowledged them.
Hmm.
And a lot of times it's so suppressed or repressed when someone like me comes in and looks at them and says, you have this thing. And there's a
Right.
reason you have it. And there's strategy that you've developed, right? We can begin to talk about it. And then I use NLP and I use
Yeah.
EFT, and I'm an amazing energy worker when it comes to actually flowing healing that they can feel no matter where they are in the world. They can feel it and it just begins to release everything super fast.
Ooh. Wow.
Ah,
Wow. So can I be really, really practical and selfish right now?
absolutely.
So I know I've been working really, really hard. I know I have a financial block.
Hmm.
part of it is, I've been doing a little work, like my mom's going, don't you tell that, because she's standing right here. But there are patterns that I repeated that I saw her do, like, just payday loans, those types of things, check to check, robbing Peter to pay Paul, and they're great lessons that I learned, but I did fall into that for a lot of my life, for many,
Mhm.
many years. And now, as a coach and trying to reach a different threshold, I, what is a hack, right? That is something that I could do right now in my thought process, or just something that goes, Trady, if you were to do this, release that financial thing, because for some reason, I feel like it's easier to do it on other people, but for myself,
Absolutely.
I'm just having such a difficult time with it.
The number one thing for you personally
Mhm.
is really look at the shame. The shame that you got stuck in that pattern. And that pattern actually has to do with punishment. Like shame and
Mm.
punishment play out. There's a pattern of punishment every time, you start to get moving and get going. That memory's pulling on you. Those behaviors are pulling on you. And so the shame's like, don't make too much, because then you're going to have to relive that again.
Mm.
So release the shame, really go into it and release the shame. But, we inherit not only our parents' money beliefs,
Mhm.
our ancestral, and historical trauma is a thing, right?
Yeah.
So your ancestors have into your DNA implanted without, it's just the way it works. Like they didn't do it on purpose. They literally have implanted their money beliefs. So there's a lot of that in your energy field too. And
Mhm.
there's a thing I keep hearing, like, who am I to think that, I should be able to have massive money and success? Then doesn't that just make me greedy?
Um, your ancestors. So like now, like because you're saying all of that, I go, oh my God, now instead of just untethering from my mom, I now have to look at my grandmother, my great grandmother. And so
You don't
now,
have to.
okay,
You don't
because
have to
now it
look
got
at it.
massive. Okay.
No, you just need to understand that it's all of their beliefs coming in. So part of it is a little relieving, right? When we understand, like, okay, so this isn't just me that made these decisions. I took on the
Yeah.
patterning and I took on the energy of the suffering with having money and being successful with my ancestors. Um, and I've punished myself. Yeah, I repeated my mom's pattern and I punished myself
Yeah.
because I didn't want to be like that. So I can acknowledge and accept I did that, but I
Mhm.
can also forgive it.
Okay.
And I can figure her, and I can send love and blessings to my ancestors and vow that I will not carry this forward.
Wow.
It stops with me.
It
That's
stops with
it.
me.
That's all you have to do is
Okay.
claim your own power of choice. It stops here.
Right. And how do you make sure you do that? Like, do you do it in relief writing? Do you write it down? Do you
I
read it
do
for
a
30
lot of
days?
writing with my clients. Absolutely. You tell a new
Mhm.
story.
Yeah.
Sometimes it helps though, like to take the time to meditate and really ask, because you're
Mhm.
all the wisdom that you ever need, it's within you. You just have to access it,
Yeah.
and we all know somewhat our family history and our
Mhm.
ancestors' history. I mean, I know my family, what they went through, both sides, like Filipino Portuguese,
Mhm.
both of them were hit with colonization.
Right.
Both sides of my family, and then my family in Hawaii, were taken over and everything they had was removed. So I had to bring that into this life too. I get to deal with that, really, you know, which brings this fear of like, and it's an unconscious energy fear of the more I have, the more someone could come in and just take it. So why bother?
Yeah.
Don't get on the radar. Be invisible, which how do you be successful if you're not being visible?
Right.
All these self-sabotaging things. And so I went into meditation and I did a lot of journaling on that. I also do things like write letters to money, to create partnership with money.
Ooh.
Oh,
I love
yes.
that.
And ask money to forgive me for projecting all my BS onto it,
Yeah.
right?
Wow. Okay.
Because
So
that's
that,
what money's neutral.
yeah.
But money is a great reflector of what's going on internally. So literally, we project all of our stuff right onto money,
Hmm.
and then we're angry with money and we chase after money and we hate money, but we love money. We need money,
Yeah.
all of these conflicting things. So I literally will write a letter to money,
Mm.
and I'll apologize for not being a good steward, for
Yeah.
projecting all my shame, blame, and guilt, for not feeling like we can have a relationship. Well, of course we can have a relationship. Money's here to supply me, support me, love
Yeah.
me, wine me, dine me, take me on vacation.
I
Different
love
way to
that.
look at it.
Yes, it is. I love that. So, someone's listening to this podcast right now, and they've been in therapy for the last 12 years of their life.
Hmm.
And they hear you say, I can create breakthroughs in your life in a matter of sessions instead of taking 12 years, right?
Hmm.
How do you do that, Bernadette?
It's an amazing thing. Tapping does a lot of good, but
Yeah.
I'm not like your normal EFT tapper, because I do have healing gifts. I have the ability to add all kinds of energy with tapping that just makes it super potent. I had a
Yeah.
client that came to me 4 or 5 years ago. He'd been in therapy for 10 years, PTSD,
Mhm.
and I don't want to reveal much about his story, but he had a bad childhood, really
Yeah.
traumatic childhood. And he was stuck in this PTSD event that just wouldn't end. For months, he was crying and his
Mhm.
relationship was falling apart. His girlfriend actually referred him to me, and he came to me and he said, I don't know why you're any different. I've been in therapy 10 years. I don't see how it's going to help.
Right.
One session, and we got his crying to stop. And all of a sudden, the next event didn't happen for 3 weeks. This is after suffering for a year.
Mhm.
And then the second session, now we've gone a month and a half,
Right.
no event, and it isn't just clearing this stuff, it is educating someone and giving them
Mhm.
the tools that, look, this is what you do when it starts to come apart.
Mhm.
And this is how you shift. I give people tools, practical, applicable tools to their daily lives so
Yeah.
that they can handle it and manage it. And before
Wow.
long, it flips really
Yeah.
quick. Yeah.
Wow. So that, man, that is so good. So just the tools you're able to provide these breakthroughs in a matter of sessions, like I wish I had some of your gifts. I wish I was a clairvoyant, all those things. And it's like, oh my goodness, I'm just so intrigued by it and how
Everybody
fast.
has the ability. So let me just tell you and all of your listeners this. Everyone thinks because they weren't born with their gifts wide open that they're not able to tap their intuition. We are all intuitive. In fact, that's our natural state.
Mhm.
What gets in the way is our analytical mind. The intuition resides in the same place the imagination resides,
Yeah.
which gets knocked out with what? Thinking, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's
you
true.
remove that and you remove the programs of the ego, or the ego jumping in and chattering, suddenly you can access it. I
Mhm.
bet you if you tried, really practiced and just tried and went with the first thing you got, it would grow and develop. I work with a lot of PhD psychologists and counselors, and they want me to teach me how to do what you do, right?
Yeah.
Because they're my clients. I'm like, I can teach you, but you're going to have to get out of your head, forget what
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah. I
And
know that
most of them
verbal
can't.
brain.
Most of them can't. I mean, that's the problem, is that I've been taught to do it this way. And I love it because I'm not a licensed psychotherapist. I am not bound by the rules of
Mhm.
the psychiatric board and all that. I don't have that. I can do whatever I want. And it
Yeah.
really it has ticked a few people off. You can't do that. Can't I though?
Anti though, I love that. You see, that's what I'm talking about. This is bad. That's what makes it easy for you, right? To earn money. That whole confidence, just everything about it is just coming, it's oozing from your pores.
I'm a Sag, right?
Yeah.
I'm a fire sign. And I am
Nice.
someone who, if you tell me I can't, Not only am I going to, but I'm
Yeah.
going to do it super fast just to prove you wrong.
Wow.
Always been like that.
So it's
Always.
the reverse motivation, because now you want to prove people wrong. So would you say that is
It's
the
not so much
main?
about prove people wrong that I do that. It's to show people that your limitations are not mine. You go ahead and
Okay.
keep those, but keep
Yeah.
them over there because
Okay.
I'm not going to own that.
Right. So it's that the deciding factor that it's never been hard for you to earn money.
It's never been hard. Money's an easy thing for me to make. I'm not going to say it was always an easy thing to keep, because I had
Mhm.
my own income ceiling and patterning where I would make a ton of money and then some major crisis would happen and I'd
Mhm.
lose it and have to start again.
Yeah.
Right? Major as in like cancer, things like that. Like
Mhm.
I'd have to reboot it again. In fact, when my daughter was molested, I was just gifted from a total stranger, not total stranger, I guess. I was waitressing, I was in my 20s, and I helped his dad, who was Alzheimer's patient. He got lost and came to sit in our restaurant, and I called his sister and said, "Hey, your dad's here. I'll keep an eye on him for you." And she was in a meeting. So the brother came from Saudi Arabia, and he just happened to be a very wealthy pilot for some Saudi Arabian sheik. And he said,
Mhm.
handed me the book Celestian Prophecy. And he said, "Thanks for taking care of my dad. Here, give this a read. I'll be back tomorrow for lunch. Let's talk about it." And we did. And he said, "What'd you think?" I said, "It's amazing." He goes, "If you could do anything just to do it, just to have fun, what would it be?" And
Mhm.
back then I was writing songs and singing. Said I'd put a couple of my songs down and demo. He goes, "Give me your phone number, your address. I'm going to wire you $10,000 and I want you to go into the studio and do that. Just for fun. Nothing
Mhm.
has to come out of it." Well, I did all that. And the night I was in the studio, my daughter got molested. That was the
Ooh.
first time that pattern came out,
Mhm.
right? And I had some stuff from my mom because she robbed Peter to pay Paul all the time. She claimed bankruptcy, I think 5 times now.
Mhm.
She was constantly living beyond her means. So to have that kind of money flow into my life, at first it was shocking. And then I felt like I'm being a bad mom, and, all that stuff happened. But within a couple of years, I rebounded and
Yeah.
began to really learn, okay, you don't have to live these patterns. And I cleared them. And then one thing after another, just kept making money.
Just
So
kept
now
making money.
I can hold on to it. It's
Yeah.
not, I have to wash it out because,
Yeah.
oh my God, get rid of it. It's not good.
Right, right. Because it's not attached to something negative or something that you're not proud of, kind of thing.
I had to work through a lot of my beliefs. I mean, I really didn't like or have a good attitude about very wealthy people
Mhm.
because, my mom was well off, although a lot of it was superficial, like status stuff.
Yeah.
So how do I look? What do I drive? Where do we live? Blah, blah, blah. And I hated that,
Absolutely.
you
Yeah.
know.
Wow. So in your bio, you talk about imprinting and activating a new energetic paradigm.
Yes.
What does that mean? Can you layman term that for me and my audience?
So obviously reprogramming, right, just
Mhm.
happens normally, naturally, the
Right.
processes that I do. But I have, how do I put this? I have the ability to channel energy straight from the divine, right? And there are
Okay.
actual creation codes. There are abundance codes within the quantum field, the field of
Okay.
infinite possibilities. And when I flow those through to my clients, it imprints right into their energetic field. We each have our own energetic field. But when that field is clogged up with negative stuff, we can't attract things to us. Our energy is too low. So we clear that first, and then I go and imprint the things that should have been there to begin with.
Mhm.
Because we're born fully resourced with
Absolutely.
those things. It's
Yeah.
just as time goes on, they leave. So I just put them back in, reignite them.
Wow. Like a code. Everybody has a special code.
Everybody has a code. Yeah.
And
I mean,
and
we
you,
each have our own DNA, right?
yeah.
And literally what I see when I'm doing it, I see these energetic codes being layered into the person's DNA.
Wow. Like you
or
have,
reactivated within their DNA.
it's like you have a personal line, a personal telephone line, direct
If only I
connection,
could use it always for me,
you
right?
know?
It just
Yeah.
doesn't work that way. I actually have someone that I go to that can do the same thing
Okay.
that helps me with my stuff.
Right. Oh my goodness. So you help people with financial blocks,
Yes.
emotional blocks,
Yes.
right? So what does it take so that those blocks that are cleared actually end up like staying cleared, remaining cleared? Like, how does that help that client to be healed from that? And they don't have to come back to Bernadette in 2023 for that same thing.
So I have a process I take people through,
Okay.
literally a process that to work through the things. And I mean, you're a coach, you know this. It takes a month of consistent repetition to
Mhm.
put some new stuff in.
Yeah.
So once we clear out the old and stop telling that story, now we start to put the new beliefs and their chosen beliefs. I'm not saying, hey, you need to believe this. They're telling me what they want to believe instead. And then we're
Absolutely.
creating a map and something that they will repeat over and over and over again
Mm.
for no less than a month.
Yeah. Oh, I love that because, yeah, that's a way that I actually work with my clients because I'm such a huge proponent for visualization. And yeah, so when you're talking about release writing, writing it down, I see the vision board, I see all of that. And I know that my modality, I'm audio first. I used to think, oh, I'm kinesthetic, baby. I got to do it
Mhm.
and I feel it. But something has to trigger me to do those things. And so during that work, I was like, oh my goodness, I need to hear it first. Then I can feel it.
Mhm.
And I recognize that sometimes sometimes I have, sometimes I jump from, I got to learn more information. I need this next course. I need this next thing. And so when people are like pitching me something, if they just email me, I will never buy. But my goodness, Bernadette, if we got on the phone, they said, Travia, girl, this is the next best thing. You need this. And I go, okay, it's my credit card because I'm audible, you
Yeah.
know? And so, oh my goodness, I love that. And I love it's like having the codes, right? And helping them heal on all levels. I love
It's
that you do
writing
that.
too, though. You talk about being kinesthetic. And the one thing
Mhm.
that Spiritual has told me and taught me, like I take people through the process I went through after my daughter was molested to rebuild my life.
Yeah.
This was the process, right? And I wrote a book,
Mhm.
and then my clients were like, can you just teach us a class? It's too much. I can't get through it.
Yeah.
So I teach workshops on it now too and teach people how to do it. But the
Mhm.
one thing that Spirit always told me was you have to write it
Yeah.
down, crystallize it.
Mhm.
Think about the Bible. It has lasted for how many years? Why? It
Yeah.
is written. I'm like,
It is
okay,
written.
it is. And there's something about the minute we put it onto paper, now it's not just in our mind.
Mhm.
We've now brought it into form in the third dimension, at
Yeah.
least partially, and at least 2D. So now it just needs to manifest in our behaviors. But when we write, our egos get out of the way
Mhm.
because we're physically doing something. But once it's on paper and you keep writing it,
Yeah.
you're writing, you're reading, right? And you're doing a physical thing all at the same
Mhm.
time. And you're declaring, this is my
Right.
new story. And then
Wow.
eventually it just becomes like things start happening around you magically. And
Right.
it's your message out to the universe. Hey, I'm ready for this now.
Mhm.
Done with the old story. I'm done with all of that trauma and drama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So right now, someone's listening and they're going, I got all these blocks. I got finance, I got emotional, I got physical blocks. I can't lose weight. I can't do these. What is a hack or a mindset that you could give them right now, like a quick win?
You are your own creator. You are the creator of your life. Stop telling yourself that you can't. Get rid of that word. Get rid of
Mhm.
it. Honestly, our thoughts and science is finally catching up with what we've known in the spiritual communities for
Mhm.
years, right?
Right.
What you think and what your self-talk is going directly into your cells,
Yeah.
into your organs, into your bloodstream. You keep
Yeah.
saying that you're sick and you're broke and I got all these, guess what? The universe always says yes.
Yes.
Always. So you
It's
say
true.
it, and the universe
Yeah.
goes, bam. Okay,
Yeah.
here's some more evidence of that.
Hmm.
Everybody
Fast.
has the ability. So let me just tell you and all of your listeners this. Everyone thinks because they weren't born with their gifts wide open that they're not able to tap their intuition. We are all intuitive. In fact, that's our natural state.
Hmm.
What gets in the way is our analytical mind. The intuition resides in the same place the imagination resides,
Yeah.
which gets knocked out with what? Thinking, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's
So you
true.
remove that and you remove the programs of the ego or the ego jumping in and chattering, suddenly you can access it. You know,
Yeah.
you get your reticular activating system running, right? It's kind of like when you buy a new car. A few years ago, I bought a new Lexus and I drove a
Hmm.
Toyota 4Runner before. So everywhere I went, I'd see Toyota 4Runners. I'm like, ah, I
Yeah.
got my car. Then I got my Lexus. And within weeks, all I ever saw to this day, all I see, Lexus, just like mine.
Yeah.
Why? Because what's familiar to us, we will attract and we will
Hmm.
notice. The same thing's true when you're creating something new, creating a new life, creating a new reality. So the more you start to say it, the more you're going to notice the evidence in your life that, oh, okay, I am fully supported. Oh,
Hmm.
I am in control, right?
Yeah.
You start to take notice,
I
but you got to
love that.
speak those things first. Like, I'm in control. I'm creating what shows up in my life.
Yeah. On that page with you. That's a lot of the work. My motivation for diving deeper into that work was last year when I was diagnosed with early stage breast cancer. And I was like, I feel like I've done all the things to not get it. But you know what, Bernadette? I was always afraid of getting it. I
Oh,
used to be a high school teacher, and on the 60, I live in Arizona. On my way to work, there was an MD Anderson building on the right side, and I would go, "Don't look over there. You'll turn a stone. Don't look over there. You'll turn a stone. Don't look." And I would not look that way because if I look that way, I'm gonna get cancer. How silly is that, right?
yeah.
And I felt like when I tell people that, I was like, I really think it was my thoughts. This was before I started diving in, and people are like, "That's that's your genetics." And although nobody in my family, no history of cancer.
Our greatest fears will always be made manifest if we keep
Yeah,
focusing on them. We energize those things. And then the universe goes, yes. Like,
yeah,
and then you're like, wow. And it's not like everything you're afraid of or everything you think that's negative shows up.
hmm,
But if it's something that's repetitive, it's going to show up.
yeah. I love that. Oh, that's a great quote. Greatest fears will always be. Love that.
So I like people tell me, well, I worry about this and I worry about that. I'm like, and you're worrying yourself into it happening. Stop it.
Yeah, yeah.
Stop it. And you keep worrying about it. You're actually creating it. It's
Hmm.
birthing this into being.
Yeah.
Everything on this planet was imagined first. Everything, the cell phone, electricity, right? Everything, the house you live in, the clothes you are wearing was birthed from imagination and then brought into
Right.
physical form. Our fears, the things we don't want to have happen, same thing. So why not
Hmm.
focus on something good instead?
Absolutely.
Birth something beautiful,
Yeah.
not something gross.
Yeah. Something gross. I love that. What would you say has been your most successful client story?
I've got so many. There was a fun one. I did one session with a client from YouTube. Actually, she just watched my YouTube videos. And she came for one reason. She said, what did she come for? She said, I've been watching your videos and having problems with my relationship with my daughter. Like, she doesn't respect me and she's an intuitive, but she's been in the closet. Really, she's like, I have this book to write and I don't know what to do.
Hmm.
And I talked to her for a minute and I said, okay, well, are you willing to let all that go? And I noticed a comment you left on a talk I gave on money, that you have this income ceiling that actually washed out because you broke your back after you hit $1 million. I said, how quick was that break your back car accident? She said it was fairly fairly fast after.
Mhm.
And she said, but you know, the doctors have said, I've several surgeries while hunched over. The doctors have said there's nothing left they can do. Just been in pain for 10 years. And I was like, can we work on that? She said, yeah. So I did my little energy mojo thing to her. And because she's also an energy healer, she was very
Mhm.
open and receptive.
Yeah.
She stood up a foot taller, no more back pain. Yeah. Yeah. I was shocked. I'm like, oh my God. Checked on her the next day and I said, how you doing? And she said, still standing tall.
Yeah.
And it's been 2 months now. She's actually been remodeling her house on her own.
Just doing the work.
Yeah. And the beauty of it is, Spirit kept telling me work on her body.
Mhm.
Her daughter didn't believe a lot of the stuff that she believes, right? But you
Yeah.
really can't deny when someone's standing a foot taller. So we didn't need
Yeah.
to work on anything with the daughter. We just needed
Yeah.
to get her moving back to health, optimal health. And it's that one just blew my mind.
Yeah.
It always blows my mind because I can't guarantee people this is what's going to happen or that's what's going to happen. I never know.
Mhm.
But she was willing to try and I was willing to try. And I just put my faith in the energy and still holding.
Wow, that's an incredible story, incredible testimony. I mean, it
Yeah.
really is. So, what's next for you? Like, what is like the next program? How are you working with your clients? What is the next big thing for you?
Well, my signature program that is always kind of open but I handpick people to come in is called Charm Life. But I'm launching on the 16th. We begin
Mhm.
an iteration of that, the foundational work called Charm Life Money Mastery. So
Okay.
that's on August 16th. We start. Um, I'm all about, I take everything sort of a day at a time, a moment at a time. I have my
Mhm.
plans, and then the universe has their plans, and I'm pretty fluid and flexible about what are we doing.
Mhm.
My goal is to change as many lives as I possibly can to activate people into their own power so they don't need
Yes.
me, so that
Mhm.
they can go shine their light and their love and show people possibility because the world needs it now. And I'm all
Yeah.
about igniting and helping people integrate true feminine energy, which is
Mhm.
missing on this planet, and I
Yeah.
don't mean like feminine as in a
Right.
female gender. I mean nurturing,
Mhm.
love, right?
Yeah.
Caring about what happens to others. We need to bring that in now. And those are the leaders that I like activating because I know they're going to make it work and turn things around for this planet.
Yeah. So, if someone's interested in that, can they go to your website?
Yeah, actually, it's not, I don't know that it's on my website. All they have to do is email me or hit me up on Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah, Bernadette at bernadettegold.com and just say, hey, I heard you on the show, kind of interested, and I will give them the next steps.
Perfect, perfect. So I have all of your contact information that I will leave in the show notes.
Cool.
So just one final question, Bernadette. In scanning all the great things that you've done, with all of these gifts and talents that you have that are extra special, I know you say we all have it. Now I want
Hmm.
to tap into mine. What is that legacy? What is it? And you started with it a couple of minutes ago, but what is that one big thing that seems impossible today? I don't know if anything seems impossible to you, but when I look at things like 40 years, 30, sometimes 10 years, I go, that's impossible, but I know I can do it. So nothing seems impossible. But what seems big to you that you will like tackle and accomplish before you close your eyes?
Gosh, I would say if I can reach and change another 40,000 people's lives before I go.
Yeah.
I've hit 40,000 already. If I can do another 40,000 before I'm done, because for every person, there's at least a dozen in their circle of influence
Hmm.
that's affected by the work that we've done together.
Yeah.
So it's, yeah, that
Yes.
lights me up.
I can tell. I see it. I totally
Yeah.
see it. Wow, Bernadette, thank you so much. This has been such an extraordinary conversation. It really has. I mean, I feel comforted from
Good.
just a lot of the things that you've said. I feel like she's standing behind me, not judging, but she's supporting because of you saying that. Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
So, oh my goodness, thank you for everything that you shared today in this episode. And I know, I mean, I have a feeling that people are going to be reaching out to you because, hell, I might be reaching out to you,
That would be fun.
especially with that money block. My goodness. Yeah. So cool. So, thank you so much. Is
You're
there any
welcome.
last thing that you want people to know before we end this conversation today?
Claim your value and your power. We are
Mm,
all sovereign beings, and the minute every individual claims their sovereignty and
yeah.
stops listening to what the world is saying and pushing and fear mongering, nothing can touch you unless you allow it. So claim it.
Boom, mic drop, baby. All right. Well, thank you so much for being
Thank
on the
you.
Reinvent You podcast today. And I just think this is gold. If you like what you're hearing, and perhaps you're interested in having a complimentary conversation with me, click the link at the bottom of the show notes. Thank you so much for listening. If you even want to know more about what I'm up to, head over to traviastewart.com. And if you like seeing the videos of the podcast, every episode is on my YouTube channel. Take care, guys.